are 15 NMN human studies, and we have reviewed them all. Let's dive into the core of our discussion, the 15 key human studies on NMN. We'll examine the sample size, methodologies, key findings, safety evaluations, observed side effects, and check out some of the limitations of each study. First, let's look at the study titled Nicotinamide Mononucleotide Increases Muscle Insulin Sensitivity in Pre-Diabetic Women. This study involved 25 postmenopausal women with prediabetes and overweight or obesity, and was conducted over 10 weeks as a randomized, placebo-controlled, double-blind trial. The researchers found that NMN supplementation increased muscle insulin sensitivity and insulin signaling. Importantly, no severe adverse effects were reported, indicating a good safety profile. However, the study's small sample size and short duration are significant limitations that must be considered. Next, we have nicotinamide mononucleotide supplementation enhances aerobic capacity in amateur runners. This study involved 48 young and middle-aged recreational runners. This randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled 4-arm study spanned 6 weeks. Different groups included low, medium, and high dosage groups and a placebo group. The findings showed that NMN supplementation improved aerobic capacity by increasing maximum oxygen uptake and power at multiple ventilatory thresholds. The interventions were well tolerated, with none of the participants reporting adverse effects. However, the study's short duration, specific focus on a physically active population, and low number of female participants limit the generalizability of the results. The third study, effective 12-week intake of NMN on sleep quality, fatigue, and physical performance in older Japanese adults, included 108 older adults. This randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study conducted over 12 weeks found that NMN intake improved lower limb function and reduced drowsiness. No significant adverse effects were observed, suggesting NMN might be safe for older adults. Nevertheless, the study's focus on a specific population, lack of evaluations of physiological changes, and its moderate duration are notable limitations. In the study titled Oral Administration of NMN is Safe and Efficiently Increases Blood NAD+ levels in Healthy Subjects, 30 healthy subjects participated in a placebo-controlled, randomized, double-blind, parallel group study over 12 weeks. The results showed a significant increase in blood NAD+ levels without any adverse effects, indicating the compound's safety. However, the small sample size, lack of NAD+ measurements in other tissues, and limited scope on physiological markers restrict the comprehensiveness of the findings. The fifth study, Efficacy and Safety of Euthyver NMN Supplement in Middle-Aged and Older Adults, involved 66 healthy subjects aged 40 to 65 years in a double-blind, parallel, randomized controlled trial over 60 days. The study found that NMN supplementation increased NAD+ levels, which is linked to improved cellular energy and potential anti-aging effects. The compound was well tolerated, with no severe adverse events reported. However, the moderate sample size and duration limit the robustness of the results. Therefore, many of the tested efficacy outcomes were reported to be statistically insignificant. In the study, NMN is safely metabolized and reduces blood triglyceride levels in healthy individuals. 10 healthy volunteers participated in an open-label, single-arm exploratory study where for the first time NMN was administered intravenously. The researchers found that NMN reduced blood triglyceride levels and increased NAD+ levels, with no significant side effects observed. However, the very small sample size and lack of a control group are major limitations of this study. The study Safety Evaluation of Beta-nicotinamide Mononucleotide Oral Administration in Healthy Adults included 31 healthy adults in a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled parallel group study over 4 weeks. The findings indicated that NMN is safe and well tolerated with no severe adverse events. Nevertheless, the study's short duration and moderate sample size are important limitations. Moreover, it's interesting to note that this study was the first one that used higher doses than 1,000 milligrams. In the study, effects of NMN on older patients with diabetes and impaired physical performance, 14 male patients aged 65 years and more participated reported in a placebo-controlled, double-blinded study over 24 weeks. The study found that NMN supplementation did not improve physical performance and muscle strength, but had no severe adverse events. However, the very small sample size and focus on male patients with diabetes might have impacted the results. The ninth study, MIB626, an oral formulation of beta-NMN, increases circulating NAD+ in middle-aged and older adults, involved 32 middle-aged and older adults with overweight or obesity in a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study. This is a Metro Biotech study, whereas it is a part of an investigation of NMN as a drug. The results showed that NMN increased NAD+ levels in the blood, with no significant adverse events reported. However, the small sample size and moderate duration limit the overall significance of the findings. The study, titled Efficacy and Safety of Beta-NMN Supplementation in Healthy Middle-Aged Adults, involved 80 healthy middle-aged adults in a randomized, multi-center, double-blind, placebo-controlled parallel group dose-dependent trial. The researchers found that NMN improved NAD levels, with the compound being well tolerated and no severe side effects reported, and suggested that NMN might have played a role in sustained blood biological age when compared to the placebo group. Nonetheless, the moderate study duration and the choice to measure total NAD+ and NADH together instead of separately are important limitations. The study, NAD+ metabolism and arterial stiffness after long-term NMN supplementation, involved 36 middle-aged participants in a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. The findings indicated that NMN supplementation for 12 weeks showed potential in reducing arterial stiffness. However, there were no statistically significant differences to placebo group. No significant adverse events were reported by study participants. However, the long-term effects are still not fully understood, and potential selection bias and small sample size are limitations. The 12th study, NAD+ augmentation in overweight or obese middle-aged and older adults, included 30 adults who are overweight or have obesity in a physiologic study. This is the second published Metro Biotech clinical study as part of an investigation of NMN as a drug. The results showed that NMN improved NAD+ levels and certain metabolic health markers, with the supplement being safe and no significant adverse effects observed. Nevertheless, short study duration and moderate sample size are limitations. The study, Safety and Efficacy of Long-Term NMN Supplementation in Healthy Middle-Aged Japanese Men, involved 11 healthy middle-aged Japanese men in an 8-week study. The researchers found that NMN supplementation improved NAD+ biosynthesis and certain metabolic parameters in the small subset of study participants, with no severe adverse effects reported. However, the study was neither placebo-controlled nor double-blinded and had a small sample size, which are all notable limitations. The 14th study, towards personalized NMN supplementation, NAD+ concentration study, included 80 participants in a personalized supplementation study conducted over 60 days. The findings indicated that variable NAD+ concentration changes among individuals administered different treatment doses. The study did not, however, evaluate the safety of NMN when administered in different doses and did not disclose observation of any adverse effects. Finally, the study, Ingestion of beta-NMN increased blood NAD levels, maintained walking speed, and improved sleep quality in older adults, involved 60 older adults in a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled study. The results showed increased NAD+ levels, maintained walking speed, and improved sleep quality, with NMN being safe and no severe adverse effects reported. However, the study's focus on older adults and moderate sample size and duration are limitations. In summary, the reviewed human studies on NMN show promising potential for various health benefits, including improved muscle insulin sensitivity, enhanced aerobic capacity, better sleep quality, all likely due to increased NAD+ levels. These studies suggest that NMN may play a significant role in promoting longevity and supporting metabolic health. Moreover, it's important to note that many of these studies have limitations, such as small sample sizes, short durations, and limited scope of both safety and efficacy evaluations. While the initial findings are encouraging, More extensive and long-term research is needed to fully understand the efficacy and safety of NMN for a broader population. We have more videos that you'll find interesting, like our review of the best NMN products in 2024 and an in-depth look at the science behind NMN. Stay informed and take control of your health journey with Health News.